Hi everyone, welcome back. New set of videos because there's a new season of Love is Blind out, season 6. And this time I'm going to start off with analyzing AD and Matthew. In particular, what is going on with Matthew. So first off, the usual disclaimers. I understand it's an edited show and I'm only analyzing the characters depicted on the edited show. I'm not necessarily analyzing how they might be in real life. I also believe that people can grow and change. Please note that I've only seen up to episode 6 at this point. So first off, I think a lot of people don't even understand what AD saw in Matthew in the first place.
I think you're extremely sweet.
Something about you, Matthew. I feel like you're gonna shock me.
But actually, based on their personality types and their own individual upbringing, their instant chemistry is not really a surprise. I do think that AD's own childhood trauma has created her tendency to go for emotionally unavailable men.
If I see a red flag, I'm like, oh, well, I'll just paint my nails red to match.
She's mentioned that her father was largely absent in her youth and she felt the need to work towards his love. And she never felt close to him even until his death. And our relationship with our parents, with our caregivers in childhood, largely defines how we subconsciously define what love looks like. And without this awareness, we do tend to go for what we are familiar with, not necessarily what's good for us. So AD's father doesn't have to be the same personality type as Matthew necessarily, but AD would be drawn to men who are naturally emotionally less available just by being themselves. Men that in personality type wise have a low feeling function. For example, Clay, Matthew, and even Jimmy. And I think the draw for AD is when these men look fixable or tell her that they want to be fixed, that they want to be more feeling, then she subconsciously wants to help them because she wants to repair that relationship with her absent father.
That's a red flag for me, but I'm such a fix-a-hoe that I would be like, it's okay, practice on me.
I have done a video on my theory on chemistry and personality type, link above, but if you look at their personality type function stack here, they don't share a single function and none of their complementary functions are at the same level either. So this tends to create very high confusion and possibly very high chemistry.
The beginning was a little strange, but when you started talking, I was like, okay. Let's go for it.
And then for relationships, if we look at their feeling functions, the F function in particular, Matthew has feeling, extroverted feeling in the lowest position, FE inferior. So things like emotions relating to other people can be a challenging thing for him.
This is like so awkward for my personality. Being in a dating bot is probably the scariest environment possible.
So then when he does open up to AD, it makes her feel very special and exclusive.
Give me a little more time, and I think maybe I can win you over or maybe somebody else.
And she would intuitively know that this is very hard for him to do.
He's kind of like a pistachio. He's got like a hard shell, and if you can like crack it, you get like something like really nice on the inside. He's like flourishing like before my eyes.
Meanwhile, AD has a feeling function in the top position, FI hero, introverted feeling. She is naturally comfortable with feelings and confident in expressing herself and connecting with other people. Matthew would look up to this and also feel very special around AD.
I just sense you're just incredibly caring. I could just feel you being protective of me, and over the course of time, I'm just becoming very protective of you.
Not knowing personality types, Matthew would also mistakenly think that AD is open and expressive because of him, which is in contrast to probably how people usually respond to his socially awkward self.
Like, I don't know if it's ever happened for me like that before.
Something like what?
Like a deep connection.
So what do I think Matthew has done wrong? So I don't think Matthew's crime is that he was seeing 2 women. AD herself was seeing 2 men that we were shown. It's Love is Blind. The setup makes you date multiple people at once. But I think one of his crimes was that he was overpromising his feelings towards people. He was misleading with his emotional investment. I think most people were shocked that Matthew was able to go from really robotic to super expressive, but this can be explained by his lowest function, the inferior function, FE, extroverted feeling. In general, the inferior function can be a very on and off function because it takes us the most energy mentally to utilize. It can also be quite binary, it's very all or nothing. And we also deep down do aspire to be good at this function, even though most of the time it is not our priority. So what I think happened is that Matthew feels very good at being feeling around AD. FE, extroverted feeling, is the ability to open someone up emotionally and knowing how to respond to them appropriately. And AD is naturally very expressive and open, and so Matthew doesn't really need to do very much there.
Hey Matthew, it's AD. I'm happy it's you.
I will admit I've been looking forward to talking to you all day.
Oh.
And so the more affirming AD is when Matthew talks about emotions and responds to her, the more encouraged his little baby FE is. So then he starts feeling really confident and aspirational and starts pouring out all this poetry and words of undying love.
What is my greatest accomplishment? Finding you.
Just basically getting carried away with his FE persona.
You deserve a lot.
Oh my God.
When this is not who he really is the majority of the time. Another way to look at it is that Matthew was basically love bombing AD, trying to rush her into a decision to convince her to lose the other men and declare for him.
Doesn't it feel awkward having other conversations? Or
Yeah.
do you feel that way?
It's almost like pointless at this point. I don't want to go on any more dates.
In reality, at that point, they all still had 5 days left to date in the pods. But I think Matthew was already seeding the idea into these women to just quit the show and leave together with him right away.
Listen, we have 5 more days.
Oh my goodness.
You give me the word. If you want to leave, I'll leave with you.
For real?
And this is perhaps because Matthew was so uncomfortable with being on set with the whole process that he's trying to expedite the process and leave filming early with a girlfriend. I also have a theory that Matthew was maybe never planning to actually propose to anyone. His need to, ask your father's permission for your hand in marriage.
I asked you about your dad because I really don't know if I could propose to somebody without asking permission.
No, that is really, really thoughtful.
It seems like an excuse to not propose. I feel in reality, Matthew might be simply using the show setup as an efficient means to meet all these curated, good-looking enough for TV women and then convince the girl to leave the show with him.
I'll find my way back to you and I'll just carry you out of here.
He makes it sound all romantic, like they're eloping, but basically he's bypassing the need to propose, bypassing the need to follow the show's set timeline. And so he can move at his own pace and propose anytime he wants or not.
That makes me feel icky because he did the same thing to me. He was like, and if I can't call your dad, I won't. Like, we'll leave.
Matthew's other crime, in my opinion, is that he's very misleading and cleverly slippery. So every cognitive function has their good and bad sides. And I think Matthew appears very shady here because of how he uses his function NE, extroverted intuition. NE is a function in general that can quickly find multiple meanings for the same statement or the same event. It's very good also at holding seemingly contradictory ideas at the same time.
You make me nervous, but comfortable at the same time.
Not to generalize, but I find that people with NE can seem very slippery in how they speak. They're good at wiggling out of trouble or avoiding getting cornered or committed to something by saying statements that are basically open to interpretation. To help you understand more vividly what I mean by slippery, let's look at this exchange between Matthew and AD where he was basically professing love for her, but actually on second watch and knowing what happened, everything he said is not necessarily what we thought it meant.
There's a large part of me that thinks that there's really only two outcomes from this.
Yeah.
And that's either with you or not.
Oh.
There's only two outcomes coming out of this, only with you, AD, or not AD. Not AD can be with Amber. It doesn't mean nobody.
I wanted to call my mom and tell her, like, oh, I finally found her.
Matthew,
What?
are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
He could call his mom to tell him about AD and Amber. All his statements are technically not false, but the way he says things, there's always like a back door, an opening to later deny what you thought he meant. The reason why I think this personality type has this kind of strategy is because they don't have the skill to manage emotions in the moment, in real time, when others are upset with them. So then they use the cleverness of having a back door instead to backpedal on what they said.
You're talking about Amber.
Yeah.
What I said to you yesterday was not what I said to her today. What I said was, man, this sucks.
NE, extroverted intuition, also likes playing with hypotheticals. They win arguments with the what ifs and the whys. So let's look at two examples here.
Some of the things I said to you were much more deep than what I said to her. And I'm being recorded. It's not like I can hide that.
Yeah.
Sure, he's being recorded, so technically, why would he lie? However, AD is not actually going to see any video footage for maybe a year. That's if production even airs Matthew's conversations with Amber, which they don't. So in reality, AD is still having to go on Matthew's word blindly.
If I had to make a decision right now, if I had to make a decision today, I would choose you. I'm making decisions tomorrow, okay?
So this is a what if, because he's not making a decision today. He's deciding tomorrow. So whatever he decides today is almost irrelevant. It's like poof. Like you think his words are solid, but it's actually thin air. He's not actually promised you anything. In short, he doesn't discuss anything real, like what he's actually done, actually said, what he's actually going to do. He knows exactly the hypotheticals to present to you, the things that you most want to hear, the things that you most want to believe is true.
And Matthew's so fucking good, like, at talking you into a loop, and you're just stuck, like, well, what do I really want? Like, he was playing on on my real life hopes and dreams, on my real life, besides all this shit, like what I really, really want.
And so then you take his imaginary scenarios, hypotheticals as truth, and you don't question him further because you choose the feel-good option. And how you counter Matthew's strategy with NE is to corner him with reality, which is sensing. So this is how I would advise AD. Question what he actually said to Amber, what he's planning to say and do. Ignore all the hypotheticals and let's only discuss what is real. I think Matthew's personality type does explain a lot of his behavior and decisions on Love is Blind. His general strategy is to keep all options open, attract multiple, and wait for attract someone to claim him. Firstly, he leads with TI, introverted thinking, which is a very logic-based function. It's goal-orientated and strategic. The goal here being leave with a woman. So it wants to do everything to increase its chances of achieving that goal, and feelings are secondary. In addition, he also does not have the function FI, introverted feeling, which means he's not going to be guided by his own feelings, what I feel, what I want. Instead, he has FE, extroverted feeling, which is what do other people feel? What do other people want? And how should I respond? So with this combination of functions, my advice is to spend some time before you actually start dating to reflect and refine on your relationship goals. What do you define as a good relationship? What should a relationship achieve for you? What is your specific criteria for a partner?
I have questions written down and they're numbered 1 through 15.
Make a spreadsheet. Use your TI to make better choices. Because in this specific case with Matthew, I don't think he's really thought out what he wants in a relationship or a partner. His criteria seems to be pretty much a woman who I'm attracted to and is attracted to me as well. So when there are multiple women that fulfill that criteria, he's a bit stuck. Furthermore, NE, extroverted intuition, is a function that likes to play with possibilities. It doesn't want to feel cornered and it likes keeping doors open. And SI, introverted sensing, prefers to have someone else initiate. They want someone else to make the grand gesture and claim them. In summary, Matthew was dating both AD and Amber and trying to lure either of them to claim him.
We started having these conversations where he was like challenging me, like testing me to see like if I was really down. He played really, really hard on that.
He tries it with AD at first and AD doesn't claim him at the time.
And I'll just carry you out of here.
I don't want to leave, but that was really cute.
Okay.
And until one of these women declares for him, claims him, he is going to keep his options open. So he keeps Amber in the back burner. So is Matthew a psychopath? I've seen a lot of social media calling Matthew a psychopath because of his ability to switch 180 from socially inept to cold and manipulative player.
I just truly, genuinely did not think
That Matthew
just
being the
told
one
her.
that he is would do that.
right.
Yeah.
But knowing personality types, I don't actually see any pathology as such with him. From my perspective, when he's socially awkward and then opens up slowly and, to be honest, quite endearingly, that was his lowest function FE inferior. And then when he's being really calm, articulate, quick to think on his feet, that's him being in his dominant functions TI, introverted thinking, and NE, extroverted intuition. He might have issues, but he's still behaving quite consistently with his personality type. So I know this is pure projection, but I've seen what tends to happen to men who share functions with Matthew. Okay, you're someone who has no real criteria in terms of your personal preferences for a relationship or a partner. It just has to be a woman who reciprocates your affections. So then you're going to be promiscuous. You're going to love many and all equally. And so if you're dabbling in the world of monogamy, you're going to upset and turn off a lot of women, like Matthew has. And what ends up happening, the person that they end up with is whoever has the most patience with them, whoever outlasts everyone and forgives them over and over again. And on the one hand, this man would think, she loves me no matter what. She'll never leave me. So this is the one. On the other hand, it's difficult to respect someone who lets you get away with bad behavior time and again. So they're going to struggle to be faithful to her and end up unhappily married or unhappily in a relationship. A final but separate point I want to make is that relationships do not exist in a vacuum. So here, I think AD was only vulnerable and receptive to Matthew's advances because she saw Matthew and got love bombed by him immediately after being hurt by Clay being so superficial.
It's like, we do the reveal and it's like, oh, wow, like we never really talked about physical and like, that is important to me. If I'm gonna propose, that's something I need to know.
Regardless of the emotional connection.
Regardless of the emotional connection,
How important is like ethnicity and race to you?
Not important at all.
I think Matthew is the sweetest, kindest, most genuine soul.
And then after that, when she found out that Matthew is a bit of a villain himself, she was hurt again and ran back to Clay. Suddenly, Clay is acceptable. She basically kept lowering her boundaries and standards every time the men chipped at her self-esteem. My point is that nobody dates in a vacuum. There are so many moving parts and domino effects everywhere that what people decide in their relationship is multifactorial. So sometimes when you are being rejected by someone when you're dating, it may actually have very little to do with you or what you're worth. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful and interesting. If so, please like, subscribe, and share to support this channel. I've developed my own methods to interpret personality types and behavior. If you would like us to analyze your personality type and make sense of your relationships, communication, and decision making, then please find booking details in the description box below.